Lenny and Domhnall, congratulations on The Little Stranger.
Thank you.
When I walked away from this, I felt really unnerved, but I thought, I'm going to be okay. And then I went to bed and I heard a noise and I had to sleep with the light on all night. And then that got me thinking of you guys, going, how do you shoot a film like this and be able to sleep with the lights off?
Because the thing that's odd about filmmaking, although you get used to it, is just how unlike the thing it is when you're doing it. Because all of the time, the difficulty of it is you're trying to, you have to project to what it will feel like when it's all put together, So you're arriving in a car, there's like food trucks outside, and you go in and somebody's got a piece of paper for you, and then you're in the room and you're talking to the actors, and the actors are in makeup. But actually there are times, if something is good, I think, when during a scene, and certainly for the actor, I think, you have to allow it to come up.
Yeah, you only want it to be in the scene. It only matters if it's in the scene. So if you start to feel it when the cameras are rolling, then it's great. I used to wake up a bit. I used to wake up in the morning sometimes a little bit, kind of with the feel of it in my head, which was really unnerving. I didn't like that. It didn't stop me getting asleep because I was normally pretty tired at the end of the day with The Little Stranger, but it woke me up early sometimes. I kind of woke up feeling weird. Yeah,
and you maybe as well sort of... on days where there are big emotional scenes to be done, definitely everybody carries that. Even the crew kind of carry it after. It does sort of seep out, but it's not as direct an experience as watching film at all. Sometimes in the edit, you start to watch big chunks of it together, and it begins to sort of eat away at your head a little bit.
Domhnall, you said on your script, Lenny gave you a phrase early on, and I wrote it on the front of my script. It says, if you're carrying something explosive, you walk carefully.
Yeah. That was just because I was carrying around a lot of bombs at the time, and Lenny really wanted me to walk carefully.
I didn't want you to. That wasn't about the. That wasn't
an
about
emotional
the film.
thing. No.
That was just generally.
You can't walk around. I was walking around very kind of blasé
with all
my
this
explosives.
TNT, and it was really dangerous.
It was. It was more a health and safety thing than anything. And it was very helpful. Lenny didn't bestow it on me as any, this is my sentence for you for the film, but in trying to understand what Faraday was, that was something that he said, which was, we still need to relate to him. He needs to be a good man. It's just that he's carrying this thing which is a little dangerous, And so he needs to, for the good of himself and for everybody else, he tries to walk carefully, He definitely has anger. He definitely has kind of repressed kind of sexuality and lust and all that sort of stuff. But he's also shut down a lot of his kindness and his ability to love people and stuff, because it's all just in there. And so Lenny saying he just has to walk carefully, I thought was great, because it feels like he's nervous when he talks to somebody of if it goes a little bit too far or he gets a bit embarrassed or there's some shame there, it may come out. And that's one of his concerns about himself, I think.
Exactly, yeah.
It's really interesting because you talk about Faraday, he is your character. But Lenny, you originally sent the script to Domhnall and said, I wanted you to play a different character. So when he came back and went, yes, you go, yes. And then he goes, yeah, but I don't like what you're thinking.
It wasn't like that, was it?
Yeah, he told me he was playing Faraday. I said, okay.
He's gotten so big now, he can go, I can do all of this.
And okay.
Lenny, your lucky day. Not only will I play the smaller, I'll also play Faraday.
He actually wanted to play both parts, but I had to stop him doing that because it just looked silly. It was brilliant because, you learn, like, if you have a good and sort of open and honest relationship with an actor, then as a director, it's not a one-way thing. It's not all about you giving and telling and explaining. It can also be what you learn from a really good actor. You learn from them, what you learn from watching them work in a scene. So I don't like, if I'm watching Domhnall work, I don't just sit there and go, does this conform to what I wanted? I try to watch it for real, and if something is happening that's different or better or suggests something, you try and use that and develop the scene with it. But it's the same when Domhnall talked about being Faraday. I hadn't thought of it because I originally had Faraday as an older character. But the more we talked about it, the more excited I got about it. And that was one of those things where that was something he gave to me. I would have, I think it made a less interesting film, the version that I had in my head.
The last couple of years have been amazing for both of you, work-wise. How has life changed since Star Wars, since all the Hollywood films? And don't just nod, because you've had an amazing career as well. Like, since Room and all those Oscar nominations, how does life change for you guys?
It doesn't feel like it's changed all that much. Work, it's perhaps the tiniest bit easier to come across something which you really, really want to do, perhaps. But even I'm not even sure about that. It's just like, you know, I had worked with Lenny just before the madness of Room and then the madness of a year that I had that was particularly where a few of the films did very well. But afterwards I got to come and work with him on this. So I feel like most things are the same. It's just life continues to be exciting. I'm not really sure.
I think probably for you as well, it's, you know, it just keeps the, as you say, keeps the work of a certain level being available. I think that's probably the same for me. This was the film that I had planned to make after Room, so I didn't change my mind and go, okay, what bandwagon can I jump on, or what big moment can I make for myself? It does help in getting things funded, and you know, as a director, that's obviously a big thing. And I think the other thing for me is that doing good work with great actors means that actors generally are more inclined to want to work with you. Yeah. And that's actually the way in which films get made.
Yeah.
You know,
word
director plus
round.
actor.
Yeah, word goes around as well. People hear that person is amazing, or that person will get the best out of you, and that will be something that people would say about Lenny, obviously.
Why do you love what you do? Why is this something you guys always wanted to do?
You go first.
The days of working on The Little Stranger, at the end of it, I was terribly sad when The Little Stranger was over, because it was, I think it's, like, apart from when I was 19 when I did a play for the first time and it was all new and I couldn't believe that you could do this for a living, it's probably the best working experience I've had. Every day felt like you did real work, you talked about what it is to be human, but not in like an arsey way. You did it through working. You explore parts of yourself you don't really know about. You get to tell stories. Every day you get to tell stories all day long, and you get to meet the most amazing people. Ruth Wilson is amazing. I loved her as an actor before this. Charlotte Rampling, Will Poulter, all these incredible people, and I got to work with Lenny every day. Like, I don't know what job there is which is better than that. Films can be hard, too hard, like hard in a bad way sometimes. Yeah. This was difficult in all the right ways. And
for me, like, I don't always, you know, sometimes it is incredibly stressful as a thing to do, and you have people looking at you and assessing what you do in a way that you don't if you're doing jobs which are not this kind of job. And everybody, you know, people will judge you at a really personal level. Yeah. And that's a hard thing to deal with, and to make sensible decisions when you have that danger floating around. But as Domhnall says, it's also an unbelievable privilege to be able to suddenly dive into the late 1940s and create, you know, it's an extraordinarily brilliant thing to be able to do, and I also don't know what else I do. You know, there's that as well. There's that as well, yeah. So I kind of I hate it sometimes, but in the way that, just because it's hard, but I ultimately absolutely love it.
Well, I love that you guys love it and that you entertain us so thoroughly. Thank you so much for.
Thank you so much.